uh, just ponder on how much money those airlines are going to lose, and some, at least some, are not going to survive, especially the smaller ones. Um, and the panic that's been generated, and again, we come back to um, this theme that I've been talking about all these years of self-identity. If you self-identify with your labels, I am my name, my race, my life story, etc., and that is all that you are, then things like this look a certain way. And the desperation to survive for survival's sake becomes paramount. And what then happens is your biological survival mechanisms kick in, not least through the reptilian brain, the back of the brain, which is constantly scanning the environment for threats to survival of all kinds, not just physical survival. What happens is you can get caught in panic because the survival mechanisms kick in. And once they happen, you stop thinking straight. And because of this desperation to survive, you um, you become open to any kind of authoritarian measures as long as you think it will help you survive. This is how it works. When you come from the self-identity that we are a state of awareness, infinite, indestructible, eternal awareness, having a brief experience called human, which is simply, what is human? What is human? It's the focus of attention of that consciousness for a brief experience through the body brain decoding systems, which lock our attention, thus our perception, into a narrow band of frequency called visible light. And when we leave the body, we leave that focus, and thus near-death experiences galore in their millions have described that actually you don't die, you just leave the body. And when you leave the body, you leave its focus, and your perception of reality expands dramatically. So when you come from that self-identity, that just a brief experience called human, then this desperation to survive is not as intense, and thus you don't get pulled into the panic that you would in the other situation I've described. It doesn't mean I'm sitting here now and I don't care if I drop dead tomorrow or in half an hour. I want I want to stay in this reality because I have something to do and I want to complete it. So it's not that I don't want to survive in human form. I do for as long as it takes, and then to do what I can do to its maximum, and then I'll be delighted to go and explore forever. What what it does when you self-identify with being awareness, having an experience, and you don't think you are in totality that experience and all its labels, then you don't get pulled into this survival based panic that you would otherwise do. And so I go to the supermarket and I get what I normally get. I don't panic buy, um, as is happening all over the place. Here's a story: how coronavirus is making us a selfish society. Well, the selfish society that this story talks about is merely the survival mechanism kicking in. I've just described survival, which means if I have to survive so that others don't, then that's all right. And this is something you see throughout the natural world. This survival mechanism kicking in, not just humans. So, psychologist explains the sense of emergency has triggered our basic animal instinct and led to stockpiling and price hikes. Well, let's give this story a look. Panic surrounding the spread of coronavirus is turning into a selfish society, as psychologists has explained. Dr. Martina Paglia, director of the International Psychology Clinic in London, told how a sense of emergency, need to survive, and concern over safety, personal safety, triggers the part of the brain associated with fight or flight and allows basic animal instinct to take over. Well, I'd not actually read this story until I'm reading it now. I've seen the headlines, why I included it. But what this psychologist is describing is what I've just described, this mechanism. She notes the issues that have already been caused by stockpiling and reports of price hikes and warned the situation could worsen if people did not change their behavior. She explained during times of uncertainty, the part of the brain that copes with anxiety disrupts another area of the brain that controls behavior. This usually results in causing fear and group thinking behavior and triggers our fight or flight response, which is our basic animal instinct. The brain is hardwired to react in this defensive manner in order to preserve the individual's life. This is essential at times when a person is in immediate danger. However, it is currently leading to negative and damaging social behavior such as xenophobia, stress, hoarding, and panic buying, which has the potential of having a huge impact on society, Dr. Paglia said. Now, this this survival mechanism is a good thing when it kicks in at times of extreme danger so that you avoid it. Because, for instance, the reptilian brain does not think, it reacts. Other parts of the brain think. The reptilian brain reacts instantly. Road rage, when people lose it over somebody cutting them up or whatever, is a reactive process. And it's part of these processes you see in so many people where they react through that reptilian unthinking brain. And then when the other parts of the brain kick in, they go, oh my God, what was I doing? What was I saying? And they say, what was I thinking? Well, the point is you weren't. That's why you did what you did. And so what we have in this situation now with this panic buying and all the rest of it is that mechanism kicking in, and people walking out of supermarkets with piles and piles of stuff. You know, my local supermarket. I get stuff every Monday. I try to do it so I never forget. Every Monday for the local food bank here. And you buy stuff for the food bank, and the supermarket, I think it adds 30% on to it. And so what you're looking at, well, what I'm looking at, I did ask them what was good, was stuff that lasted. And so I usually get big packs of pasta. I don't eat pasta. Um, and tins of beans. You know, things that fill people's bellies who are hungry. Um, it's not the greatest food in the world, but you're in that situation. And so I went this Monday. Gone. There was a restriction on buying pasta, but didn't need to be a restriction because there weren't any. And you were restricted to was it 5 tins of beans? And I usually get 12 on a Monday. So there are many knock-on effects for many, many different people of panic buying. Um, because if some have, others won't have. Oh, but I've got to survive. Well, maybe if you didn't panic buy, you'd still bloody survive. Always happens. So this psychologist says she urged people to have greater awareness of their own behavior in order to keep it under control. We can reduce the urge to fight or flight by being knowledgeable and mindful of the anxious response we may be experiencing. Yeah, be aware of it. Oh, hold on. That's my survival mechanism kicking in. It doesn't think. Think. Well, maybe I don't need to do this. She said we can reduce the urge to fight or flight by being knowledgeable and mindful of the anxious response we may be experiencing. Try to avoid panicking by understanding and accepting the anxiety, making sure that the information you're receiving is actual fact rather than just opinion, and take control of your response. Well, that's good advice across the whole spectrum of human life. Take control of our own response, because panic buying is having fear triggered from external sources dictating your response, not people controlling their own. I mean, you shouldn't laugh, and I don't laugh because it's funny. I kind of shake my head because it's just an extreme example of what I'm talking about. How about this for a headline? Indian farmer destroys nearly $800,000 worth of chickens and eggs over coronavirus fake news on social media. The coronavirus outbreak has not killed anyone in India so far, but it has been absolutely lethal to the poultry industry, with a false rumor leading one farmer to destroy his native or his entire livelihood. This guy, Dr. Suresh Batlikar, a poultry farmer, is one of many local poultry producers who have fallen victim to the coronavirus linked panic fueled by social media posts suggesting that the COVID-19 could be transmitted through white meat. Though unfounded, the rumor has spread like wildfire on messaging platforms such as WhatsApp, prompting many to drop chicken and eggs from their daily diet. A quick sip. While sending poultry sales plummeting by up to 80% across India. the third largest producer of eggs and fourth largest of chickens in the world. Efforts by the industry's excuse me, professionals, lawmakers, and vets to reassure the public have so far been in vain. This is the panic. So, due to my losses, my labourers have no work as I have stopped production, this farmer said, explaining why he decided to destroy approximately $782,000 worth of eggs and day-old chickens. The Indian government has taken pains to stop the ruse from spreading, state authorities said. And the the guy's business is basically destroyed, and the employment goes with it, just because this guy heard a rumor. Um, the survival response mechanism kicked in, didn't think straight, and that's what happened. It's so important to keep calm and not get pulled into this stuff, because that's when we get scammed. And just finally on the coronavirus in this podcast, here's another version of madness. Islamic scholar who said coronavirus was Allah's punishment gets coronavirus. An Islamic scholar who said coronavirus was Allah's punishment for China's treatment of Muslims now has coronavirus. Back in February, this Hadi al-Modresi, who is based in Iran, said the coronavirus outbreak was undoubtedly an act of Allah as divine punishment against the Chinese for their treatment, mockery, and disrespect towards Muslims and Islam. It is obvious that the spread of this virus is an act of Allah. How do I know this? The spread of the coronavirus began in China, an ancient and vast country, the population of which makes up 1/7 of humanity, he said. More than 1 billion people live in that country. The authorities in that country are tyrannical. Well, of course, those in Iran are not. And they laid siege to more than 1 million Muslims and placed them under house arrest. How can an extreme Islamic scholar complain that any other country is tyrannical? Talk about lack of self-awareness. Anyway, the journalists in that country, he said, began to mock the hijab of Muslim women, and they forced Muslim men to eat pork and drink wine. Allah sent a disease upon them, and this disease laid siege to 40 million Chinese people. The same hijab that they mocked has been forced upon them, both men and women, by Allah by means of the state authorities and officials. But this chap has now apparently contracted coronavirus. So what does Allah have against him? It is just crazy stuff. You know, when you see the perceptual programs that pass for human thinking, it is absolutely extraordinary.